How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is doing well and having such a nice weekend. That would make me happy if you were having a really nice weekend. And I hope that you are officially enjoying your canvases. As you can see, I'm working on my canvas. So during this WIP and chat, I'm going to be working right here in this section. So if you happen to be watching, that's what I'm hopefully going to be working on. So far, I really like it. I'm doing In the Stars from alllll. It's by Maria Chetkareva. How do you say your name, Maria? I want to say Chetkareva. And yeah, so far it's been really beautiful. This is an alllll canvas, and the drills have been beautiful. The glue has been wonderful. It's gone together just great. I've done 4 sections. I have 2 more on this end, and then I'll start the next row. But she's a big one. She is 60 by 75 centimeters. So yeah, no illusions that I'll be finishing this. She's gonna be a WIP, and that's okay, because I am going to like working on her. And so that's the part that makes me the happiest, knowing that I am going to continue to enjoy it. All right, everybody. So here's our first WIP and chat for the Zodiac event. So what we're going to do is, while we're working, is I'm going to go over some of the origins of the Zodiac, how it came to be, how it started, why it is what it is, you know, how we kind of got it from today. So I'm going to be going, first of all, I'm going to give you just a little overview from Google, our friend Google. Then I'm going to be reading from an article that Time magazine ran in 2018 that I thought was kind of a good representation of what we're looking at. It also will tell you the dates and the signs. So if you're not really sure what sign you are, you're going to know by the end of the WIP and chat, because I'm going to tell you. So that's what's going to happen today. And then next time we're going to talk about some of the attributes associated with each sign. Hopefully you'll find some people you know, because that usually happens, I think, for most of us. And if there's time after that, then, you know, we'll talk about some life updates and what's happening, and the fact that it is way too hot and I'm tired of it. Anybody ready for pumpkin spice season? I am so ready for that. So yeah, I would really like fall to get here. So anyhow, that's what's on the agenda for this WIP and chat. So how are you guys enjoying your canvases? Let me know in the comments. I hope that you really like them, because that's the goal, isn't it? To do a beautiful canvas that you really like and are looking forward to making a masterpiece out of, right? That's our total goal. If for anybody that still has a ways to go on their dragon canvas that you did for the month of July, that's okay too. Whenever you finish it, go ahead and post it in the Dragonites Lair Facebook group so we can all enjoy it. If you haven't gone over to the Dragonites Lair Facebook group, go over there. Go check out all the cool stuff, because you guys are a very talented group and you guys need to go over there and see it, because wow, do you guys do some cool stuff. So that's that part. All right, let's see. I'm going to get some drills going here, and then we're going to start getting into the origin story of the Zodiac. And I'm curious, were any of you guys into I'm going to call it the moving trend that was happening in the 70s, where everybody was in an astrology course of some kind or another? My mother was very active in it, like very active in it. And I remember at the time thinking, oh my God, seriously? Because I was, you know, a young teenager. So, you know, 13-ish, 14-ish. And so, and she drugged me along to some of these classes, and I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding. I mean, I just thought this was like Fruitcake Central. Like, what are you doing? But I enjoyed watching her enjoy it, and she felt it helped her understand me better, which as a Taurus, she needed to do, because when you have a Sagittarius daughter, that's a whole thing, right? So I was okay and thankful with the fact that she was taking these courses. If she thought it helped her understand me, then I was completely fine with that. I also think that, you know, I really didn't give it any credence at all when I was younger. But, you know, you live and you learn, right? And so what I discovered is that a lot of the people that I knew really did show some behaviors and mannerisms that were typical of the astrological sign that they were actually under. So then I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Am I the only one that realizes this? Like, are other people seeing this? And so, you know, time went on. And again, it was very, very popular in the 70s. And then it kind of fizzled out in the 80s because other things that were happening, like technology. Yes, I was the Pac-Man generation, you betcha. So, yeah, that was a whole entire thing as well. So, yeah, let me know, just, you know, were you guys into it, part of it? You know, at any time, like, what was the thought of you guys? So, yeah, let me know what your thoughts were and what your life was like. Were you part of the situation, or were you an offspring of the situation, or was it just kind of, you know, nobody bought into it? Because let me tell you, you start to understand a lot of the characteristics of people. It got to the point, you guys, where it was scary. I could tell you within a month's time which sign you were. So it's really, so there's got to be something to it, because it's not like I'm mystical or anything. I just found it fascinating. So, it really, and I'll tell you, there were some skeptics, you know, along the line. But when I told them, you're either this or you're this, and I was right, oh, you should have seen the look on their face. It was something to behold. Anyway, so let me know how you guys were introduced or not introduced to the world of astrology. Okay, so I'm going to pour some drills in here, and then we will get started. I think I will start with these. Okay. So first, we're going to, again, do the overview from Dr. Google, and then I'm going to get into the article that Time Magazine ran, because I thought they did a nice job kind of explaining it in fairly decent detail, you know, from then. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get to it, and we will go from there. So, the modern Western zodiac originated in ancient Mesopotamia, part of Babylonian astronomy, during the first millennium BC, and was later shaped and named by the ancient Greeks. Okay, I need a pen. Okay, Babylonian beginnings. Star tracking. Babylonian priests mapped the path of the sun, moon, and planets. 12 equal parts. By the 5th century BCE, they divided this celestial belt into 12 equal signs of 30 degrees each. So that sort of explains to you what the map looks like that astrology is based on, right? It's 30 degrees in 12 directions. Okay. Animal names. Many original symbols like the twins, crab, and balance were created during this era. The Greek and Roman influence. Name origin. The Greeks called it Zodiacos Kyklos, meaning the circle of animals. The date alignment. Later, Greek and Hellenistic Egyptian scholars, such as Ptolemy, linked the star patterns to specific calendar dates and personal horoscopes. Okay. This is now the article from 2018 from Time Magazine, which is on time.com. So if you wanted to look at it, they actually have a couple of articles. You can find them on their website. Okay. So, let's see. An image of the sun surrounded by a calendar showing seasons and the symbols of the zodiac that appear on the title page of an 1814 almanac written by Nathaniel Lowe, MD, and published by Monroe and Francis in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, this article is from June 21st, 2018 at 10:23 a.m. Pacific time, if you really want to get technical. As the summer officially begins with the summer solstice occurring in the northern hemisphere on Thursday, those who enjoy Western astrology will be checking out their summer solstice horoscopes to try to use the stars to figure out what the season might have in store. While some horoscope sites may promise predictions based on the quote-unquote movement of the stars, it's important to remember that it's the Earth that's moving, not the stars. The reason why stars look like they're moving, both throughout the night and over the course of the year, is because the Earth rotates on its axis and orbits around the sun. But both throughout the night and over the course of the year, it is because the Earth rotates on its axis and orbits around the sun. But before most humans knew that, they spent a lot of time thinking about what was happening up there in the sky. We have to remember these were primitive people, right? Okay, and they're trying to understand what's happening in the sky as they see it. Okay, so though astrology, looking for answers, signs, and predictions in the movements of the celestial bodies, isn't itself a science, there's a long history of humans looking up at the stars to plan their lives. Farmers used the skies as a calendar as long ago as ancient Egyptians, when the rising of Sirius, the dog star, around mid-July was seen as a marker of the imminent and annual flooding of the Nile. Travelers used the skies as a compass, following the stars to know where to go. And many people use the skies as a source of mystical direction, too. But who first looked up at the sky to make sense of what was happening down on the ground and why their fellow humans were behaving in certain ways? Exactly who came up with this way of thinking and where and when is unclear, but historians and astronomers alike know a bit about how it got so popular. Where did zodiac signs come from? The stars are just one of the many things in the natural world that human beings have turned to for answers over the years. We don't really know who first came up with the idea for looking at things in nature and divining influences on humans, says astronomer Sten Odenwald, the director of citizen science at the NASA Space Science Education Consortium. There's some indication that cave art shows this idea that animals and things can be imbued with some kind of spirit then has an influence on you, and if you appease that spirit form, then you will have a successful hunt. That was taken over by the idea of divination, where you can actually look at things in nature and study them carefully, such as tea leaf reading. So you see all the different things that have come out of astrology. Divination. Anybody ever see anyone or know anyone that had divining rods? It's kind of interesting to watch. And tea leaf reading. There's a lot of cultures that have divination in one form or another. Okay. Some form of astrology shows up in various belief systems in ancient cultures. In ancient China, noblemen looked at eclipses or sunspots as portents of good or bad times for their emperor, though it's thought that those signs had less application to the lives of other individuals. Odenwald points out that in societies where people in the lower classes had less control over their lives, divination could seem pointless. The Sumerians and Babylonians, by around the middle of the 2nd millennium BC, appeared to have had many divination practices. They looked at spots on the liver and the entrails of animals. Let's see. And their idea that watching planets and stars was a way to keep track of where gods were in the sky, can be traced to the Venus tablet of Amos Saduqa. That was a long one, you guys. This tablet, which is dated to the first millennium BC and tracks the motion of Venus, is one of the earliest pieces of what's been called Babylonian planetary omens. The ancient Egyptians contributed the idea that patterns of stars made up constellations through which the sun appears to, quote-unquote, move at a specific time during the year. It's thought that all of these ideas came together when Alexander the Great conquered Egypt around 330 BC. There must have been a lot of exchange that got the Greeks on board with the idea of divination using planets, says Odenwald, and because they were deep into mathematics and logic, they worked out a lot of the rules for how this could work. Here's how NASA has described how that logic led to the creation of the familiar zodiac signs known today. Okay, what are the 12 signs of the zodiac? Now, this is where we're going to get the dates, you guys. It was during this ancient Greek period that the 12 star signs of the zodiac, with which many people are likely familiar today: Aries, roughly March 21st to April 19th, Taurus, April 20th to May 20th, Gemini, May 21st to June 20th, Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd, Leo, July 23rd to August 22nd, Virgo, August 23rd to September 22nd, Libra, September 23rd to October 22nd, Scorpio, October 23rd to November 21st, Sagittarius, woohoo, November 22nd to December 21st, Capricorn, December 22nd to January 19th, Aquarius, January 20th to February 18th, and Pisces, February 19th to March 20th, were set down. Phew, so there they all are, in case anybody was wondering. All right. These Western or tropical zodiac signs were named after constellations and matched with dates based on the apparent relationship between their placement in the sky and the sun. The Babylonians had already divided the zodiac into 12 equal signs by 1500 BC, boasting similar constellation names to the ones familiar today, such as the Great Twins, the Lion, the Scales, and these were incorporated into Greek divination. The astronomer Ptolemy, author of the Tetrabiblios, which became a core book in the history of Western astrology, helped popularize these 12 signs. This whole idea that there were 12 signs along the zodiac that were 30 degrees wide and that the sun moved through these signs regularly during the year, that was codified by Ptolemy, says Odenwald. Even the word zodiac comes from the Greek, from a term for sculpted animal figure, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, and the order in which the signs are usually listed comes from that period as well. Back at the time of the Greeks, Odenwald explains, the first day of spring started when the sun appeared in the constellation of Aries, and then everything was marked from that time forward around the circuit of the year. However, the Earth has moved on its axis since then, a process known as precession, so now the dates that are used to mark the signs don't really correspond to the background constellations that give them their sign names. In fact, the chronology has really shifted one sign to the west. That means zodiac sign dates based on the mathematical division of the year basically correspond today to the presence of the sun in the constellations of the signs that come before them. The set nature of the signs is also why the Minnesota Planetarium Society's 2011 argument that there should be a 13th zodiac sign now, Ophiuchus, Ophiuchus, didn't actually result in a big astrology change. Before, astrologers looked at where the sun was relative to background constellations in general, and that generally matched up almost exactly with the signs of zodiac defined by Ptolemy, says Odenwald. Now astrologers do their calculations and forecasting based on where the planets and the sun are relative to the 12 signs, which are fixed. Sorry guys, a couple things were going on and I had to address it, and you know, it doesn't matter when you try to plan to film this stuff, it's constantly ending up being an issue. All right, let's try that again, shall we? Okay, now, Before astrologers looked at where the sun was relative to background constellations in general, and that generally matched up almost exactly with the signs of zodiac defined by Ptolemy, said Odenwald. Now astrologers do their calculations and forecasting based on where the planets and the sun are relative to the 12 signs, which are fixed, and not based on where they are relative to the constellations. Astrologers say if the sun is in the sign of Sagittarius on the day you were born, then you're a Sagittarius. So there you go. What's the difference between astrology and astronomy? For centuries, astrology, which is looking for signs based on the movement of the celestial bodies, was considered basically the same thing as astronomy, the scientific study of these same objects. For example, revolutionary 17th century astronomer Johannes Kepler, who studied the motion of the planets, was at the time considered an astrologer. That changed around the beginning of the Enlightenment in the late 17th century. Once Sir Isaac Newton basically turned the sky into a calculator, mathematizing the motion of the planets and realizing that gravity controlled everything, Odenwald says, that started a whole new scientific approach to looking at the sky and the motion of planets and the Earth. Now, those of you probably know, just in case you don't, Sir Isaac Newton is the person who discovered gravity. So there you go. And the theory, I think is it the theory? Anyway, that's who he is. I won't get into what he discovered. You guys know how to use Google. I'm not going to have to worry about that because you are the Dragonites and you know how to look stuff up. Okay. That's the point at which astronomy came to be known as a science, and astrology was acknowledged as, well, not a science. But its popularity relies on factors that numbers can't compute, and the appeal of looking to the stars for answers has not waned. In fact, in recent years, it seems to have expanded. After all, a 2014 National Science Foundation poll found more than half of millennials think astrology is a science. And Odenwald argues that even if astrology's answers aren't based on scientific study, the reason people keep turning to the skies does come down to something very real. A psychological phenomenon he calls the human tendency for quote-unquote self-selection, the search for interpretations that match what people already hope to be true. People magnify the positives and they forget the negatives, he says, and that's just how we're designed. So there you are. That would be the study, if you will, of how astrology and the zodiac came to be. So, did you find that to be interesting? What do you guys think? I think it's interesting that, you know, there's so many interesting factors. Like, you know, you can have an entire room full of Geminis, and they're all going to be different, but they're going to be traits that are so the same. Like, it's really kind of scary. So I don't know what you call it, but I find it very interesting. You guys probably have heard myself refer to myself as, you know, it's a Sagittarius thing, because yeah, a lot of Sagittarius think in a lot of the same ways. Now, is that due to the fact that we all have our birthdays at the very end of the month, and we have to wait all at very end of the year, and we have to wait all year for it, and then we have to compete with Christmas? Maybe. I don't know why. It's just an interesting thing. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts about it, you guys, because, yeah, that's what we're doing, is we're talking about all the different signs of the horoscope. Do you guys read a daily horoscope? Whether for enlightenment or entertainment or to giggle, or do you not bother? I think it would be interesting to hear what you guys have to say. So, I'm assuming if you are in this event that you at least are aware of what it is and, you know, have some opinion about it, because there's a lot of canvases that are dedicated to it, right? So let me know what you guys think. I'm always fascinated with how the Dragonites feel, because, you know, you guys, again, you're the cream of the crop, and you're intelligent and you're worldly, and you know, you can really think for yourselves. And so I would like to know what your thoughts are about it. So let me know in the comment section. Have you guys noticed too, I think it's interesting too, that there are some families where everybody's birthday is within a few weeks of each other. I always find it so interesting when that happens. And I don't know if that's just a fertility thing, because, you know, women's fertility is, we're actually only fertile less than a week of every month, which I find fascinating. So when you think about it, we beat the odds a lot by procreating, right? So, yeah, but I find it interesting that, you know, like everybody's birthday will be like April 11th, April 17th, April 30th. It's just, to me, it's really funny that that's how it seems to work in families. So, yeah. So, yep, definitely let me know your thoughts, because I would like to know how you feel about it and what your thoughts are about it. But at least now you know kind of where it came from. And it's so interesting, too, because, you know, 1500 BC, we're talking way back, right? Where, you know, it was interesting because they wanted to, a lot of cultural generations and things, especially way back, didn't really have a level of sophistication, and they desperately wanted to know why things were a certain way. You know, why does spring come at a certain time of year, you know? Why is there a big run on, you know, colds and flu certain times of the year and not the others? I mean, we have since answered a lot of these questions, but remember, we're going way, way back, okay? 1500 was way, way back. So it's fascinating to me that they're like, well, let's look at the sky. Let's see what's going on. And there's still some of that to a degree. I mean, look at meteorology, right? It's people that are forecasting the weather. What do? Well, they look at, you know, the tide, and they look at what the conditions are and how the clouds are moving and whether or not there's humidity or not. And, you know, all of this to be able to forecast ahead of time what they think the weather is going to do. So, you know, it's not that far-fetched when you think about the uses that we have for it now. But way back was a whole different ballpark. They really, you know, they were pretty primitive, and they didn't know how to do some of the things that they wanted to know about. So looking to the sky was not an unusual thing then. So I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say about it in the comment section. Those of you who were prize winners, you should have received your prizes either today or tomorrow at the latest. So those of you that did win, please let me know if you received them. Kathy, I got your email today, so I'm glad you received it. Congratulations again. Enjoy all the goodies. But I'd like to know from the rest of you when you receive yours, please. Okay. So what else do you guys think or know or feel about astrology? Have you found that there are some signs that you get along better with than others? I have found that to be true. What I find is, as a fire sign, I seem to struggle with some of the water signs, which makes sense when you realize what exactly water does to fire, right? So yeah, it wasn't too surprising. But I get along with earth signs, which is also interesting because, you know, fire can do hard stuff to the earth too. But what I find interesting about it is that I'm on the cusp. So, because my birthday's the 19th, and so I was almost a Capricorn, which is in itself an earth sign. So when you think about it, there might be something to that as well. But you know, that whole mystical thing, I mean, it's interesting, right? It's fun to think about anyway, whether there's anything to it or not. I just think it's interesting. So, yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. And again, we are going to move into next week. We're going to start talking about what those traits are for that particular sign. So just be thinking about it between now and then about, you know, how many Geminis do you know? How many Aquarius do you know? How many Leos do you know? You know, start thinking about them. So when we talk about traits, you can kind of think for yourself whether or not you happen to see those traits in those people that are under that sign. Then we'll talk about that in the comment section for next week. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for hanging out with me for a while. I'm sorry about that interruption earlier. Hopefully I've taken care of that and it won't be a thing, but I apologize for the interruption. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend. And remember, always be a dragon. Spread your wings. Protect those you love. Have fiery passion. Stay strong, slay your fears, and always fly high, rise up, and soar. All right, Dragonites, have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.